Okay, I think I am live. So I know I have one person in chat, although she is working. So if you're looking at the chat, you can see that. Do you say Keela or Kyla? I'm just wondering so that I say your name correctly. But I want this to be interactive, so I'm going to see if any other people come. Nothing personal, Keela, or Kyla, however you say it. But I really want this to be an interaction and make sure that we have more than just a couple of people expressing opinions, especially since you're working, Ms. McDonald, because I know you can't really completely participate. You're filling medications. Yeah, you can't do it. It's Keela. Okay, so I got it right the first time. Great. So yeah, you're definitely not able to join me on screen. I was really kind of half joking about that, but yes, HIPAA. I'm a former healthcare worker myself. I'm a certified health educator from another life, so it is what it is. So I'm going to give it a couple of minutes. I know that you just said you just got a notification, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes and see if anybody else joins us. If they do, great. If they don't, then I'm just going to call it a night. And I guess people didn't really want a book club. A lot of people indicated they did, but we'll see. They maybe not maybe just getting the notification and trying to get in. So we'll give it a few minutes. So obviously you're a pharmacist. But you can just chat whenever you can. I know you're working. I don't want to I don't want to interrupt your workflow because you're taking care of people, and that's very, very important. So just in case anybody does stop by and see this, even if this doesn't become a full live stream, long one that I had originally wanted to do. The reason I'm doing this, or reason I decided to try this, is because Natalie Webster from Scientology Life After a Cult, she has said probably 3 or 4 weeks ago now, that she really would like to get involved with a book club. And so I thought, I think the conversation she was having in her live stream had to do with books written by SPTV people, or people who are SPs, or people who are out of Scientology and have written a book. So I thought, that's actually something I might be pretty good at. I am the daughter of a librarian, a retired librarian. I love to read. I love to discuss books. So let me see. I think we have 4 people. So besides you and me, Miss Keela, I think there's a couple other people. If you are there and you can live chat, would you just basically say hello and your name? Hi, Cheryl Nasco. Thanks for joining us. If there's anybody else out there that you can just say hello. You don't have to say anything else till you want to, but I'd love to know who all's there. If you can do that. Yay, we have 3 people. If you're Episcopalian or Anglican like I am, I was raised Anglican, wherever 3 or 4 are gathered, there's always a 5th. It's an alcohol joke. I got to get used to looking at my camera. I'm trying to look at the chat at the same time. So we'll give it a couple more minutes, see if anybody else shows up. But again, I'm doing this because Natalie had mentioned it and said she would love to do something like that. I know that right now is not a good time for her. I've had some private emailing with her prior to Tony's passing. And so, she knows we're doing this. I think at some point she may want to join us when she's feeling up to that. Probably not for this book. But yeah, so it was really Natalie's suggestion, and I emailed her and said, I think that might be something I'd like to try. What were you thinking? And I told her what I was thinking, and we she kind of walked me through what she was thinking of. I was thinking, we might even do some of L. Ron Hubbard's books, some of his science fiction books, so we can make fun of them. But that might be down the road. So I think starting with Jenna's book is probably the best place to start, because she is, if not the very first, she's one of the first people, definitely one of the first true inner circle, because she's the family of the Miscaviges, to write a book. So about her experiences in Scientology. So I know my thing says 4 people. So I wonder if the 4th one is me on my personal account. It could be, because I was monitoring it on my phone just to see what the how many people are in, because you know what, StreamYard doesn't tell me. I'm doing this on StreamYard, and StreamYard, I can't see where it tells me, if it tells me. I've looked. But I'm also doing the free StreamYard. So it's almost a full moon. Yes, I know. I know. I remember those days, especially working, and when I was working in mental health. You're working in mental health, Miss Keela. I see that. So, yep. I guess we'll just go the three of us so we can start chatting. So, how did you guys? What format did you use? I actually got the hardback book. So, how did you guys? Did you do a book? Did you do paperback? Did you do Kindle? Did you do Audible, CD? I don't know if it's even on CD. Just let me know in the chat how you what format you used. Keela, you did both. So you did a book and an Audible or an audio version that you could listen to. That makes sense, especially if you're a busy person. That's one of the reasons. So one of the things I want to do is do this every week. Most book clubs meet once a month. That's just seems like a lot of time in between for something like a YouTube format. So I would like to do every week, but I also know most of us cannot read a full book in a week. I don't have time for that. And I'm sure most of the people out there that, I do have, now I see people, I can see now how many people are there on there. It wasn't telling me before. Yay. Paperback. All right, Cheryl. So you did the paperback. I did the hardback because I actually got mine secondhand through thrift books, and the hardback was cheaper than the paperback. So why not get the hardback, right? I'm on a very limited budget right now, so I was, looking for the easiest and least expensive way I could do this, and still have time. But so I don't have time to read a whole book in a week. So I broke it up into 3 sections. Just I figured most people can get through that much of it. I wanted to break it up a little so we can go every week and really have a good discussion. So apologies in advance if you hear noise in the background. On the wall opposite me, on the other side of that wall, is my husband, who does not think he has a hearing problem, but he does, who is watching a Clint Eastwood shoot 'em up, bang 'em up movie of some kind. So if it gets loud and you can hear it, I apologize in advance. Can you guys hear me okay? Because my microphone's off to the side. So I want to make sure. Seems like you can. You guys aren't complaining. So I'm thinking you can hear me. So, but I apologize in advance. And I also just want to take the time. I know we talked about Natalie a little bit, but just to remember Tony, my Tony. I can't say my Tony because my husband's name is Tony. So Natalie's my Tony. I would just want to take a moment to just honor him and acknowledge what we've all been through. If you've been following Natalie, then that he passed away very, very recently, and it's obviously devastating for her and her family and for their close friends. But because we've become such a community in the SPTV, yes, Keela, humble and kind. I've got a story about that in just a second. But because we've really become this SPTV community, it's really hit a lot of us pretty hard too. I have my tissues here just in case between Jenna's book and Natalie's my Tony if I get a little overwhelmed. I can compartmentalize pretty well most of the time, but we shall see. Keela, humble and kind. That hit me so hard when Natalie told that story about Tony being in the ICU. So, and I'm not the nicest person sometimes, especially driving. I live in a rural area and I have to commute for work purposes. So I get a lot of people on the road that are not fun to drive with. So I'm not the nicest person. Can't tell you how many times a day I say to myself, humble and kind, be humble, be kind, be humble, be kind, just to try to get myself to honor, Tony and what he wanted for the world. Because I think he's one of those people that really did want world peace. And last but not least, I want to say that I want this to be very, very informal. Obviously, I'm not doing this formally. This is in kind of an extra room in our house. It's sort of my office because I do have a small business. And the paintings behind me are actually were my stepsons. He just didn't take them with him when he moved out as an adult. So they're hanging on the wall in here. So that's that. All right. So we all know what kind of format we did. So I guess my first question is, what were your expectations diving into this book? When you first decided to read it, what were your expectations? I'll go first and just sort of kind of get it started. I was hoping, thank you, Keela. If you saw the whole thing, you wouldn't. It's pretty darn cluttered around me, but I made it look nice behind me. So my expectations going into this book were, knowing that Jenna is David Miscavige's niece, part of the family, raised in Scientology and all of that. My expectation is that this was going to be a pretty heavy book. and I'm not going to say it's not. There are parts of it that are, but that was my expectation, that A, it would be a pretty heavy book, and that B, I would maybe learn some things that I haven't already learned by watching the SPTV channels that are out there. So what were you guys' expectations? Just let me know in the chat. If you had any, maybe you didn't have any, maybe you just wanted to read it because you were curious. Whatever the case may be. I'm going to just kind of keep talking till somebody chats and tells me, what your expectations were. You're probably typing, and that's fine. I think I also expected, and she may get more into this as we get into the second or the third section of the book. I think I expected more stuff about the Miscavige family. I guess that's coming. I hope it's coming. Don't spoil it for me if you've read the whole book already, because I haven't. I've really only read the first 10 chapters and the prologue. So just let me know. Oh, there's only 2 of us now, Keela. So I don't know that, or maybe Cheryl. I don't know who's here, who's not. So, okay, so Keela, I thought it would be about, here, I'm going to see if I can, I'm doing this for the first time. Hey, look at that. I thought it would be about telling more family stuff, and really glad she started at the beginning. Yes, I was glad she started at the beginning as well, like the true very, very beginning. And I was definitely expecting more family stuff. So, and you have read it, so try not to spoil it for me, because I've only been through chapter 10 so far. So what did you think about the title? What was your thoughts about the title? And I mean, it's pretty, beyond belief, I thought that was clever, because that's kind of a double entendre, beyond belief as in religious belief, but also I think their experience in Scientology, especially in the Sea Org and the Cadet Org, is beyond belief, as far as hard to believe that these people, and that kids are still doing some of this stuff and being trafficked the way she was. And then you add in the My Secret Life inside Scientology. That's pretty titillating, I would say. My secret life. People always want to know secrets. And then My Harrowing Escape. That was really something that stuck out to me from the title, was harrowing. And of course, we haven't gotten to that, so I'm really looking forward to that part of it. And you said she is an amazing person and so smart. She is. It's amazing to me. So, if anybody's watched any of the videos that Jenna has done and the interviews she has done, and she talks about when she escapes a little bit, and that she's pretty feisty, and they talk about her being feisty, and they kind of allude to her being a vampire because she bit somebody, but when she was trying to escape, not just to bite somebody. But she's so quiet and seemingly introverted when we're watching her on video. So it's just kind of interesting that there's this maybe 2 sides to Jenna, and I'm hoping to see a little bit more of that as we get going too. So, and my next question for anybody, and again, if you're going to watch this on replay, that is great. Please do. And if you are watching it on replay, put your thoughts in the comments. You can answer any or all of the questions in the comments if you like on the replay. So we're back to 3 people. So I don't know what that means, because it was 2 before. So I don't know. So hopefully, if you're there in the chat, other than me and Miss Keela, if you can let us know you're there and just comment. So far, we've talked about the title, what we were expecting from the book, and what format that you did, if you're reading it, or if you thank you, Keela, for sharing it to your channel. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, those are the things we've covered so far. So, and then I guess I kind of wondered, I did print some questions off online. I looked up some questions for nonfiction book clubs type things. So one of the questions they had is, what do you think of the cover of this book? And I never would have thought to ask that on my own. But I was thinking, that's a really good question, because this right here, this little girl, I'm not used to the backwards thing. This little girl right here in this picture, which obviously is Jenna, it's a haunting photo to me. And maybe it's biased on my part, because I know her story, at least part of it, or at least some of it, maybe not in depth, but I know enough of it. But in reading the first 10 chapters, obviously she's still a child, and where I stopped at the end of chapter 10. But it seems like her eyes, it seems like there's so much pain in those eyes in that little girl. And that just, I didn't even think to look at the cover and look at it in any detail until the question came up. So if you have thoughts about the cover, let me know that in the chat as well. Or if you're on replay, in the comments. Since we're talking about comments and things like that, please do, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, all the things. I'm not necessarily looking to get monetized. If I get monetized, that's great. But I do, if I want to keep doing this, I want to have people subscribed and people watching it. So if that's okay. So Keela says, the picture is truly showing herself as a very sad little girl and escaping from something laying next to her. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Oh. Yep, there is like a little something there, isn't it? Yes, sad is definitely the thing. I feel like there's so much pain in her eyes in that picture. It touched my heart. I am actually not a mother. I have 2 stepdaughters that I helped raise. They were 7 and 10 when I came into their lives. They were 11 and 14 when their father and I got married. We since divorced, and he passed away, and we were amicably divorced, very good friends. He passed away of cancer a few years ago, and I've still stayed close with both of my stepdaughters. They're my daughters. They come to me for mom things, not their mom. But even though I've never given birth, and I only have stepdaughters technically, and I have 7 grandchildren between those 2 stepdaughters, even the ones born after the divorce and his passing, I'm Grammy. They come to my house. They stay overnight with me. It hurt my heart so much to know that this little girl was suffering so much and not having her parents and not having her mom. And we'll get more into that. That just was so painful for me to see that in her face on the cover. And then as we're reading the book, knowing what she experienced, because I'm not a real mom, and I can't imagine leaving my 2 stepdaughters in the hands of somebody else and never seeing them except for maybe once or twice a year. So yeah, Keela says, it looks like the grate of an opening of some type, and she's out from the inside. It does look like that. I'm not sure what it is, but it does look like that. It's a very good photo that they chose. And Keela, I appreciate you saying, please don't give up. It's such an amazing thing we can do together. I would love to keep doing it. So as long as somebody shows up, we'll do it. I mean, that's just, for me, this way. Hold up. Thank you, Keela. You're a bonus mom. I am a bonus mom. And what's funny is they call me my name, Allison. They don't call me, mom most of the time. But I'm my oldest stepdaughter, particularly, who has 6 of the 7 grandchildren, and I do help with her children quite often. She will often tell people, whether it's on social media or in person, this is my mom. This is my mom, Allison. So she does kind of think of me as her mom. And like I say, they come to me for the mom thing. So I appreciate you saying that. So, okay. So next question. Let me go back to my notes here. Like I said, I want this to be very informal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have them numbered where I want to do it. Okay. Did you find any noteworthy quotes from this book, and what were they? So I know you're working, Keela. If it's hard for you to do that, I'm going to go to a couple of pages that I marked, and I'm going to take the glasses off. So here's the thing. I am terribly nearsighted. For distance, I have to have glasses. For close up, I can see perfectly fine, like here, without my glasses or contact lenses. These are supposed to be progressive lenses, but they're a couple of years old, and I don't really see that well out of the bottom of them close up. So I'm going to just take them off to read what I need to read. So what was I wanted to look at here? Oh, this was, to me, was heartbreaking. If I can find it. Okay. So here we go. On signing day, this is page 49, and this is talking about her signing her first contract, her first billion-year contract. On signing day, all the kids stood in a single file line at tables where the contracts were laid out. One by one, we each signed. I really didn't have anything else I wanted to do in life except to be a Sea Org member, so it would have been silly to pause and consider my options, as I wouldn't have even known what they might have been. She wouldn't have even known her options. That's sad to me. All I wanted was to be with my parents and work with them every day. I knew that if I graduated from the cadet school and became a full-fledged Sea Org member and was ethical and compliant, I would have a post at the INT base, international base we know, and I'd see my parents more than once a week. That alone was enough to make me eagerly sign the document in the blank space. That, to me, was a heartbreaking quote. It just was like a dagger in my heart, because as we read and continue in this book in the first 10 chapters, and as we know from her story, she didn't get to see her parents. She saw her dad a little more often, but her mom was off all over the place, all over the world, doing things for Scientology. She was really high up, and she never saw her mom. She rarely saw her mom. And that just was something that touched me and hit me so hard. It just hit me so hard. Keela, I know you probably can't do a quote because you're working and it's hard. You can't really just look up in a book right now. So I do realize that. I do realize that that's an issue at the moment. And then the other thing that really struck me was on what page is it? Page 53, when she talks about the Chinese school. I didn't know what she was talking about at first. It took me a minute. My page just turned. Hold on, technical difficulties. Okay. So she said when all inspections were finished, so she's talking about at the ranch when they had all their jobs to do and all their what they call decks, all the work they do in the beginning, the first part of the day, and then went to Chinese school after inspections. Chinese school was parroting. We had to repeat everything we heard exactly as we heard it. And she goes on to say that L. Ron Hubbard had seen this in a Chinese school and was impressed with how the students engaged. I don't know. I don't want to get political. I don't want to be political on this channel. I don't want to, we're not going to denigrate anybody's political beliefs. We're not going to denigrate anybody's religious beliefs on this channel. But the thing about the Chinese school, that scared me. That is, why would an American, Ron Hubbard, want to emulate a communist country? Now, granted, the Chinese are super smart. Their children learn way better than our children do. They excel in all the things. I get that. But I think they lose some of their individuality. Sound familiar? When they're in a school system like that, where you're parroting everything and repeating it back. In most countries where there is a communist government in charge, your individuality is not encouraged. It's a little better in China in later years, but back then it would have been pretty mainline communist to do that. And again, I'm not denigrating a political system. I just don't personally like the communist system and that whole parroting thing. That freaks me out. It's like robots. So Akila says, I don't have the chapters in front of me, so I'm scared if I type something, it might not be the correct chapters or be ahead of where we are. I totally get that. But if I say something that you like relate to, or that you remember something about that you want to say, go ahead. And also, most of us have seen, a lot of the interviews with Jenna and stuff like that. So, that most of people know Jenna's story. So you don't think you're going to be giving too much away. So what else? You said they were young, seemed cool, and were nice to us. Yeah. I don't remember what part that was in, but yeah, that's a really interesting statement, right? So because they were cool and they seemed nice to us, they were young. So I think one of the things about this book that really struck me is that they talk about in all this SPTV videos and stuff about children being treated like adults. They're full grown adult beings in a child's body, in a small body. I don't think I thought I grasped it here. I don't think I really fully did grasp that's how much they were treated like adults. The way that they were treated in the cadet school, in the cadet org, when they're working at the ranch and they're fixing their own pools and fixing their own, ranch apartments. They weren't apartments, they were just rooms, but they were doing all that work themselves. Yes, there was some adult supervision, but they were doing it themselves, and they really were being treated like adults. It just floors me. So here's one thing. I'm all for giving children responsibility. I don't think children should just be allowed to play games and, do their gaming online, etc. I think even small children can learn to put their toys away under adult supervision, etc., for example. But there's a difference between age appropriate responsibilities and expecting children to be adults and act like adults and do the work of adults, because they kind of were expected to do all that. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why the government hasn't been more involved in this. And I know Scientology's sneaky. They can cover everything. They safe point with all the agencies so that so they have those people in their pockets. But at some point, somebody has to have some integrity in in a governmental position with enough authority to say, enough's enough. We're not going to allow this anymore. You can't do this anymore. You're not going to traffic people anymore, and you're not going to traffic children anymore. But anyway, we're getting a little ahead here. So Yes, they shared an apartment with Mike and Kathy Render. So the two families shared an apartment together when this is before she went to the ranch. I'm kind of stuck on the ranch because the other stuff, she was with her family, at least, some of the time. Granted, not most of the time during the day, and they only saw them at night for the most part, and then they were separated. But then when they went to Int Base, and then she eventually went to the ranch, that to me just that sticks with me more than the first part of the very first part of the book did. But yes, they all shared an apartment. So there were several children and 4 adults in a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm not sure I would want to live in that. I mean, I have to really like people to live that close to them. So yeah. All right. So that was that. So another question: What? Nope. That's not it. That's not it. Here we go. What emotions did this book evoke in you? I thought that was a good, juicy question. What emotions did it evoke in you? So I'll go first. Anger. A lot of anger about how these children were treated. Let's back up. Keela says, something has to give. This is truly an organized criminal enterprise that is safe pointed everyone they can. How will we ever get this cult down? That's a really good question. That's a very good question. My saying is, I used to say, Scientology is a criminal enterprise operating as a business, masquerading as a religion. But I've changed that up a little bit. Now I say Scientology is a human trafficking criminal enterprise operating as a business, masquerading as a religion. And then I often will say, because usually it's when I'm posting something like a link to a video or something on my Facebook, and then I'll say, change my mind at the end. And nobody has taken me up on that challenge so far to try to change my mind about it. So I don't know. I don't know what I think probably the best answer is to get their IRS status, their IRS tax exempt status reversed. I don't know how that's going to happen. They keep saying things are happening in the background behind the scenes. It takes time, etc. I sincerely hope that's happening, because I think once their tax exempt status goes away, if that ever does happen, they're going to fall because they don't have cash flow. They don't have cash flow. And if they have to start paying taxes and all the money that they do bring in, it's going to kill them. It's going to kill them. They're not going to be able to continue to operate. So we're talking about emotions, the emotions it evokes: anger, hurt, and frustration. And as the book keeps going, I started feeling anxious and overwhelmed. I can feel that coming on even just in the first 10 chapters. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Definitely anger. Anger was my first emotion. And then sadness, some extreme sadness. Hey. Hi there, LA Chameleon. Go back to the start if you want. You can try putting it on a higher speed, although I talk pretty fast some of the time, so I might sound like a chipmunk, but feel free to go ahead. But yeah, so thanks for joining us. So yeah, anger, hurt, frustration. I feel all those things too, at least in the first 10 chapters so far. One of the things that I noted was how matter of fact Jenna has written this book. I think if I had lived this, I think I would have, and I was trying to express it in a book. I think that I would. I think I would have more, and even though I tend to be very logical, analytical, I'm not an emotive person most of the time. I think I would have been more emotional writing this book. If I was writing a book like this, I think I would be more emotional about it, and I would have way more adjectives that would be probably hyperbolic, a little over the top. But I'm just struck at how very matter of fact, and I know Jenna had an author, writing with her, but it just struck me how matter of fact she says everything about this is what happened, and this is what we did, and this is what happened to us. It just really amazes me that it's so matter of fact. So here we go. Keela says they can't take away the exemption. Why? What? Evidently, to get the tax exempt status, there was a contract between the IRS and Davy. I just found this out. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Not sure how any of that was legal. Yeah. I'm not sure how much of that is legal either. I don't get it. I don't get how that's legal, that you can make a contract with the IRS. Has any other church or religion made a contract with the IRS? That's got to see the light of day. That has to see the light of day. That needs to be exposed. I would love to see that contract. Keela, where did you, can you tell me where you heard that from? I just want to go to, not doubting you at all. I definitely believe you. I just want to go to the source material and see if there's any way that if there's documents involved, etc. Anything you can tell me. Nona Boss reported on Poe's channel. Okay, I'll go watch that. I don't watch Poe most of the time. I have limited time, so I tend to watch Aaron. I tend to watch Natalie. Sometimes Reese, depending on my schedule. Sterling, usually when the rare times that he does one. Sometimes Nora. But I have not watched Poe with any regularity. So I'll go back and see if I can find that. I appreciate you telling me that. So we were talking about the emotion in the book being very matter of fact. So she does get emotional at some point. That's good to know. That's good to know. I'm glad she does. So I'm glad that she does at some point, because I'm sitting there going, I don't think I could be this matter of fact telling this kind of stuff. And maybe it's just because it's, a lot of that's such long time ago memories, because she was such a small child, that maybe that's why it's a little less emotive at that point. So let's see, what do you have here, Keela? You say, I want to see it. Yep. I have a nonprofit, but I would love to know how they did that. Yes. I don't have a nonprofit, and I still want to know how they did that. I have worked with nonprofits, so there is that, but I would love to see, what documents are out there. If that's the case, where did Nona Boss get that information? Is there something we can look at? So, she literally deserves the name Jen Kula. Yeah. Yeah. I said something about that early on, that, they say she's a vampire because she bites somebody. And I know she does that. She talks about that in at least in one video that I saw, that she bites somebody when she's trying to escape. So yeah. And I know she that's what I'm saying. There's a juxtaposition. What we see on the videos is typically very introverted, very quiet, very low key, very even keeled. So it's just funny to hear these stories about her being feisty, and especially like biting somebody when she was trying to escape. I'd like to see more of the feisty Jenna on camera. That would be fun. I would love if she and Aaron did more videos together, and as kind of an item, if there's some of that fighting, the verbal sparring, that I think that would be fun to watch. So she fought to stay. Oh, really? She was fighting to stay? That's interesting. I didn't realize that. I thought that was when she was trying to leave, but okay. Oh, in the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, she did fight to stay for sure. So, okay. So another question. Was there anything new that you learned from this book? And now when I say from this book, I'm going to try to stick to just the first 10 chapters. Was there anything new that you learned? I'm not trying to think. There was something I didn't know about Jenna. I did not know when she was at the ranch that she was the medical officer. I kind of thought that would have been an adult, but again, they treat children as if they are adults. So that was something new that I learned. I don't think I've learned anything new about Scientology in general. I just think I think I intellectually got some things about Scientology, but didn't emotionally really grasp that. Hadn't wrapped my heart around it, so to speak, until reading some of Jenna's books. So she was treated worse than most people. She was. Although sometimes she got like her dad would visit sometimes, not that he got special permission, but he seemed to make an effort to visit her and bring her, treats or gifts every now and then. So at least there was that. Some of the kids at the ranch didn't have that. But yes, for the most part, Jenna was treated worse than most because she was a Miscavige, and you probably didn't want to be seen as giving anybody favoritism just because their name was Miscavige, I'm assuming. So, so did you learn anything new? Was that what you learned, Keela, that she was treated worse than most? Sounds like that might be the thing that you learned. Oh, there's one more question on this page. Hang on. Oh, did you do any additional research for this? And if you did, would you like to share? So yeah, so that is what you learned. Gotcha. Yeah. So did you do any research? Did anybody out there do any research about the subject? Now, I'm not going to say I did research specifically about Jenna Miscavige, but obviously most of us have been watching these SPTV videos at least for a certain amount of time. I've been watching Aaron for I don't know how many years now. I think I started watching him right before it took off. It's right after the Aftermath Foundation, or the Aftermath show with Leah Remini and Mike Render. I know it was, and it wasn't when it first came out. I watched it on, was it Netflix? I think it was on Netflix at one point. So I watched it there. I didn't watch it on the original airing. And after I binge watched that, my husband and I actually binge watched that together. But after we did that, I started looking up channel like information on YouTube, and I came across Aaron's channel, and growing up in Scientology. And that's how I kind of got to know a little bit more about Scientology. And I always knew it was a cult. I remember my mom saying that's a cult at some point in my young life. I just have a really strong memory. There was some kind of poster or picture, but it was on a TV program or a news program or something. And it was somebody talking about L. Ron Hubbard, and on the poster there was a baby, like a toddler in a diaper, and the toddler was like had their back to the camera and was looking over their shoulder like this, and they were quoting L. Ron Hubbard as saying something, and this could be completely wrong, but whoever was talking on the TV said something about L. Ron Hubbard had said something about children, a child giving you a come hither look. And I'm like, children and babies can't do that. And my mom's like, that's a cult. So I remember that very specifically. Isn't that funny? I have no connection to Scientology at all. I'm definitely a never in. I live north of Tampa and Clearwater area, so I'm not too far from Flag, but I really knew nothing about Scientology other than my mom said it was a cult. So when I started watching videos, I would consider that kind of research for Jenna's book, but I didn't go and watch videos as research for reading Jenna's book. I had just learned a little bit more about Scientology over the years. So Keela says, her book actually made me start searching for other books. And see, I didn't get her book until just recently. My first book, my first anti-Scientology book or former Scientology book was probably Mike Render's book. Not feeling real great about that now. But Mike Render's book was probably the first one I read. And it is interesting and has good information in it. So I'm not going to say it doesn't, because it does. Good information about Scientology and how they operate. But let's face it, he would know. Okay, so let's see. If you were able to meet the author, what would you say to her? So if you were able to meet Jenna, what would you say to her? Keela says, in regards to Mike Render's book, his book is informative. Yes, it is. It's definitely informative, for sure. So if you could meet Jenna, I have never obviously met Jenna. I don't know if you have or not, Keela, or LA Chameleon, once you catch up, if you have ever met Jenna. But if you could meet Jenna, if you haven't, what would you say to her? I think the first thing I would say is thank you for writing your book, and I'm so terribly sorry that was your life. Although I think most of the people who were in Scientology who are out now would say, it did make me who I am. And like I have some things in my life that certainly nothing like what they went through, but we all have our trauma. We all have our things that happen in young childhood or teenagers or whatever. I had some pretty serious things happen when I was younger. And do I wish they hadn't happened? Absolutely. Are they part of what makes me who I am today? Yes. Do I like who I am today? Yes. So there is always that piece of it, that even though these bad things happen, or in like Jenna's case, having an entire childhood be taken away from you, it is part of what made her who she is. So, I think she would rather have not grown up that way, but at the same time, maybe there's a little bit of, but I wouldn't be who I am without it. So I would definitely tell her I'm so sorry she had to go through that. And I would thank her for her book. And I would also tell her, you go, girl, when it comes to Aaron. And hopefully she can keep him in line, because Aaron tends to be a little bit of a wild card now and then, which is one of the things I love about him. Keela says, I would ask her how she remains so sweet with the upbringing she had, and how does she keep Aaron in line? Funny that we both said that. That's funny, Keela. But yes, how does she stay so sweet? I don't understand how she can be so sweet and so kind and so gentle seeming after everything she went through. I would be so angry at the world. I'm hoping that maybe she, got some therapy. I'm not a big, like, everybody must go in therapy things, but when you do have trauma, when you have issues like that, things that have happened to you in life, you do have to process them. Scientology would have you process them one way, but real people in the real world need to process them in a healthy way so that we can move past it. It doesn't mean you forget it. It doesn't mean that it's not part of your life. Doesn't mean that you get over it, but you need to be able to process it healthily so you can move past it and not have that become like your total obsession or who you are. Keela says she's very mild speaking unless she's truly mad. Right. And I kind of get that. She's one of those people that it takes a lot to boil her pot, but once it's boiled, you better get out of the way or you're going to get burned. That's the impression I get from her. But I do think it's funny that how does she keep Aaron in line? I said, I hope she's able to keep him in line. I love his wildness. With Aaron, here's what I see. And I see this as a middle-aged, mid-50s grandma who has been around the block a few times. What I see with Aaron is he was not able to have a childhood or a teenagehood either, just like Jenna and the rest of them that were raised in Scientology. He really wasn't able to have. Now, he had it a little better. They were public part of the time. He had a car, he had a house, all those things. But he didn't really get to have a teenage life. He got married super young because if you're in the Sea Org, you can't date. You have to get married. There is no dating, right? So I think he's just living that part of his life that he didn't get to live when he was a teenager, when he was a young man in his 20s. He didn't get to do what most normal male Americans get to do, right? So I can understand why he's kind of literally sowing his wild oats a little bit, for a while there. I totally get that. Keela says, I absolutely love Aaron. I think everyone should stay out of his private life. I agree. I totally agree. It's his private life. He can do what he wants. He can see who he wants. It's his life. And we have no business saying what he should or shouldn't do at all when it comes to his private life. So, all right. I think we've exhausted the subject of what would we say to Miss Jenna. Second page of notes. Is this type of book your usual cup of tea, or did it make you read out of your comfort zone or out of your comfort genres? I will say I'm eclectic. Being the daughter of a librarian, I like lots of different books. I love biographies. I love autobiographies. I love mysteries. I love true crime. I love, every once in a while, I like a romance novel. Not the silly ones, but like there's a series by an author named Jenna DeLeon, or probably De Leon, because she's from New Orleans area. That's about a former CIA agent, female, whose name is Fortune. And the series is called the Miss Fortune series. And there's comedy all through it. There's serious parts, there's adventure, there's mystery, there's action, there's everything in it, but there's a lot of comedy involved with it too, to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. So I like everything. I can't say this was or wasn't my cup of tea. I enjoyed the 10 chapters I've read. It's not an easy read. It's a comfortable read. I don't feel like I have to struggle through reading. It's very conversational. I love that in a book. I have a great vocabulary as, being the child of a librarian. I can read the thicker and heavier stuff. It's not my favorite thing to do. I like reading books that are conversational to my ear when I hear it in my head. So I can't say it wasn't my cup of tea, or was. I'm enjoying it. So let me know if it's your cup of tea, or if you were reading outside of your comfort zone or your comfort genres, what you normally like to read. Any thoughts on the writing style? And we did kind of touch on that. Like I said, it's very matter of fact so far. Keela says it gets less that. So Keela says, I listened on Audible. I put the book on my shelf. So probably listening to it, since it's a very conversational style of writing, it probably was just an easy listen as well. You didn't have to like plow through it and back up. I sometimes in a book, if it's a little wordy is not the right word. Just a little more complicated in its writing, a little more complex sentences and stuff. Sometimes I have to go back to the beginning of the paragraph and start again because I'm not getting something. And I read too quickly. That's part of my problem. I read super fast, and that's not always good for comprehension. So, but I imagine listening to it makes a big difference. Keela also says, I love the way she presented the story of her life. Yeah. So far, I'm really enjoying it as well. I can't wait to delve into the second third of it, the middle of the book this week. This time I only have, last time when I first announced we were going to do this, it was like a week and a half, maybe almost 2 weeks. So I had a lot of time to read. Now I'm going to have to cram a lot into a shorter amount of time. So I'm going to make myself do it. I will definitely do it, even if I'm reading at midnight. Keela says, I actually found Catherine Spolino's book, The Bad Cadet After Jenna's book. I've heard that about that book. That may be my next one. It might be the next one we do. In fact, I do want suggestions, whether it's in live chat or whether it's in the comments. If you're on the replay crew, I would love any suggestions for the next book. The next 2 weeks, we're going to finish Jenna's book. We're doing it in 3 sections so that we can meet weekly instead of monthly. Because like I said in the beginning, most book clubs meet once a month. I don't want to do once a month. I want to do every week just to keep me at it and keep doing it. And, if you ever watch any of the lifeboat stuff, connection, I like connection and being connected to people who have like interests. My husband's kind of half-heartedly interested in the Scientology stuff. He enjoyed the series that we watched, but he's not watching the YouTube channels with me. He watches what he wants to watch. Like I said, Clint Eastwood on the other side of the wall when I came in here. So I don't really have a lot of people I can converse with about this other than the SPTV community. So this for me is a way to connect with other people who are also watching the same videos and things that I am. So Keela says, I would definitely recommend The Bad Cadet because it falls in line with Jenna's book. Good. Yeah. So that might be our next one. I think that might be a good idea to do that. I'll be looking for it and see where we can find it. So thank you so much for that suggestion. And then one of the questions was, is the topic of this book something you're familiar with? I don't think any of us would be here doing this SPTV Book Club if we weren't already familiar with the overall topic of Scientology, and especially how Jenna and other children were mistreated, abused, neglected, trafficked by this cult. So I think we all are pretty familiar with the topic. If there's anybody that watches this live chat or replay crew, then that didn't know a lot about this stuff until you started reading Jenna's book, let us know, because we don't want to overwhelm you with some of this. Some of this can be very triggering too. So I don't know about Jenna's book so far, although I will say the fact that she really missed her mom and wanted to spend time with her mom, oh my goodness, that just is so heartbreaking for me. Keela says I'm probably too familiar with it. Yeah. So Keela, I do not have a Kindle. My mom does. I can do the Kindle app on my phone. The problem is my mom's Kindle and my mom's 86. My mom's Kindle is hooked to my Kindle account. So if I log in on my phone, she can't log in on her Kindle. So I can do Kindle on my phone, but I tend to just do paper books. If I can get a PDF version and do it that way, sometimes I do that, but typically you can't get a PDF version of a book unless it's one that's been self-published or something like that. So yeah, Keela says that's what I used on my phone. And like I said, I have to let my mom know, hey, I'm going to be using the Kindle app because she won't be able to do anything on it if I'm on my phone, as it's the same account. She did not want her own account. I have to get the books for her, et cetera, et cetera. So what's funny, my mom's a retired librarian. She's very tech savvy for an 80-something-year-old, but certain things she would prefer I handle. She could do it, but she wants me to do it just because she doesn't want to be bothered. She wants to read the book, but she doesn't want to be bothered doing all the stuff. So I even order any paperback books or hardback books for her on Amazon with her information, her credit card, her delivery address, all of that. But I do her ordering for her. It's on my account, but because she doesn't want to do that, she doesn't want to be bothered. So, but yeah, Keela, can you expand on how you're too familiar? Is it just from watching the videos, or do you have a connection to Scientology? Because I don't know your history. So, let me know if you're never in, or if you are connected in some way, maybe had family, or just from watching all the SPTV stuff. So, and while you're doing that, I do want to talk about, Jenna, that when she got to go spend time at Flag with her mom, and how there was this whole bedroom set up for her, and how she got to spend that time with her. She got to swim. She did things that she would not have been able to do at the ranch. And it just was heartbreaking when she had to return back and go back to that dreary living. It wasn't a life. It was a regimented dreariness that she was living. And it just broke my heart. It really broke my heart. And I think this book, I already am at a mindset of, we've got to find a way to get to the point where children within Scientology are not being abused and neglected this way. Now they're saying little ones are not anymore. You have to be 15 or 16 or something, but there are also people saying, like, Scientology supposedly changed their policy that they don't have little kids in the Sea Org anymore. I don't think there is a cadet org anymore, but we're hearing reports that there are teenagers younger than 16 that are in the Sea Org in certain places. So we've got to find a way to get Scientology forced to stop using child labor, because that's what they're doing. Not only are the adults that are trafficked adult slave labor, but they're also doing child labor. And the book makes that so clear that when she goes back to the ranch, she's literally going back to being a child slave. And it makes me so angry. And yet I'm so far removed from it. And I don't have the network or the connections to make things happen. But what I can do is my little piece of the world, right? So there's that. So I'm hoping Keela's going to let me know if she's comfortable with it, why she feels like she's too familiar with the general subject matter. So also just want to note that our next week, same time, same place. So it'll be 8:30 Eastern time here on Primal Scream, my channel, which I don't think I said at the beginning. So, I'm a little bit of a newbie at this. I have some videos out there, but I don't do a lot of live streaming. So our next section is chapters 11 to 21. So if you're doing like me and only reading, a bit at a time, if you're not able to do the whole book, because I just don't have that kind of time, we're doing chapters 11 to 21. And we'll meet back here at 8:30 on Wednesday. What is the day? The 20. I have to look at my calendar. After 8:30, my brain shuts off. The 26th. So it'll be Wednesday the 26th at 8:30 Eastern time. So I want to give Keela a little more time. Celebrated my 100+ subs last night. Small steps. Yeah, I have over 70 now. So there is that. I might even be over 80. I'm not sure. Let me check, because I don't remember. I'm doing it on my phone because I don't want to mess anything up on my laptop. Where's Primal Scream? There it is. And I'm actually logged in on my phone on my personal account. So how many subs do I have? Oh, I have 105. I don't know how I got to 105, but I do. You'd think I'd have more than 3 people in the live stream, but maybe it's just not a good time. It's 105 now, unless you just looked and somebody just dropped, because I just went and it says 105 on my phone. So, but yay for you, Keela, for having 100 subs. That's awesome. Yay. And yeah, I'll keep doing it. If it's just me and you, Keela, that's fine. We'll keep doing it. And LA Chameleon hopefully can thank you. Keela says congratulations, but I'm saying congratulations back to you. I don't have a trophy like Tommy does to hold up. So maybe I should get one for something like that. But anyway, so yeah, you'd think I'd have more than 3 people. Hopefully LA Chameleon will catch up. I don't know if Cheryl just didn't like it and she left us, or what happened, but or maybe she had something happen that she couldn't stay on. But we'll just keep passing the word. We'll keep advertising it and not pushing it, promoting it through Reese's Pieces and Scientology Life After a Cult on Facebook. Once Natalie is back up and really running and is able to breathe a little more, I'll gradually just kind of touch base with her and see if she's ready to maybe try to join us, or if not, if she'll just at least talk about it every now and then on her channel, or allow me to say something about it as a commenter when we do have a session coming up. So Keela, I want to thank you for being here. We've been going almost an hour. That flew by, and I did a lot of the talking because there's nobody else but me talking. So can you see the answer I typed? I see just keep going and I will keep sharing, and I see this. So I did not see your answer about Scientology. No. Oh, no, I didn't see your answer about Scientology. No, ma'am. If you answered, I didn't see it. I believe you. I believe you. It may have gotten flagged for some reason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So no. I absolutely love Erin. I listened on Audible. I love the way she presented the story. I found Catherine Spolano's book. I definitely recommend Bad Cadet Kindle. I'm probably too familiar. That's what I used on my phone. I celebrated 100 subs. You're 104. Congratulations. Just keep going. That's it. And then can you see the answer? I didn't answer 7-Up. So it could have gotten flagged. I do have some settings on my channel so that if there's, I'm not sure what words YouTube sometimes thinks are not appropriate, but I do have a couple of settings for live chat because I don't have any mods. So not big enough for that. So I want to make sure if I'm not seeing the chat that something inappropriate is not coming up. Oh, you created, really? Oh, that's right. I think I did know that you did create Reese's book or Facebook group. So yeah, that's great. So thank you for letting me promote it on there. And feel free to promote it anywhere else you would like, so we can get more people and won't be just you and me talking to ourselves. So, although I enjoyed it, I've really enjoyed talking with you, Keela. So this has been a lot of fun. And maybe if there's a night that you're not working on a Wednesday, unless you work every Wednesday, maybe you can join me at some time. I'm starting a mental health channel with Gretchen. Oh, cool. Let me know about that. And I will definitely do what I can to promote your channel too. Absolutely. So yeah. So again, thank you. And again, if there's ever a Wednesday you're not working and you would like to join me, I'll just put the link up in the chat and we can be both on here together. I can do that. So, you know, I would love to have you on so we can talk and not just type, because I know when you're typing, it's not enough. And I feel like I'm doing too much talking, but there's nobody else to do the talking. So it's me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close this one up. Thanks for joining me, Keela and LA Chameleon. I know that you are catching up. So hopefully next time you can join us in person. Be sure and put anything, LA Chameleon, in the comments if you want to answer any of the questions. Anybody else on the replay crew, if you want to, leave comments, please feel free to do so at any point in time. I would love to see your comments and what you have to say about the first 10 chapters in the prologue of Jenna's book. And again, we're going to do chapters 11 through, what did I say, 21, 22. Let me look back at my notes real quick. 21, 11 through 21 for next week, Wednesday the 26th, 8:30. Hope to see you there. So until then, happy reading and have a great evening.